Hi, I'm Will.
And I'm Allie.
I'm a fella who likes his superhero movies fun and well done.
I'm a gal who doesn't know a skull from a Cree, and that's just fine by me.
And when we combine forces, we become the co-nerding operation known as the Pairables.
Well, hello, everyone. It's a new week. It's a new me. No, I'm the same me.
Good. Don't change, kid.
Yeah, that'd be weird. I mean, we're friends. Like, who is this person sitting in this chair?
I mean, if you showed up and you told me you were Allie, but you were somebody else, I would at least halfway want you to be here. Because I'd be like, maybe it's Allie.
You're still kind of Allie.
You might be Allie.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm jazzed up.
We're jazzed up.
As we say.
I'm very jazzed.
In the jazz community. And
skip-a-dee-bop,
I'm ready. I'm jazzed up because we're talking about a film today.
Yes.
And it's a film based on a comic book. I'm going to stop. I got to stop now.
Yeah, quit it.
It's going to keep going. It's based on a comic book. I saw it when it came out. You recently saw it finally. It's in the mighty Marvel tradition, Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marbles.
Captain Marbles.
I believe that's a puppet.
That's a very different thing.
Yes.
I finally got to watch this film, and I enjoyed myself.
Good.
As I usually say, as I've noticed, I do this a lot on our little podcast here. I always reference...
You just referred to it like the way that a mother-in-law would refer to her least favorite daughter-in-law's project, her
she's doing
crafting.
That little thing.
You know, her little, she makes these little, she knits little sweaters. It's really cute. And she's like, Mom, that's how I make my fucking money.
Mom, I'm an artist. I'm an artist.
Our little podcast that you hate.
A little bitty bit. I don't hate it.
You disrespect it.
I love it. No, I always have to mention when there are babes. Brie Larson.
Totally.
Babe.
Totally.
Total babe.
Yeah. And her character as Carol Danvers and
great.
Captain Marvel, I didn't think I would dislike the film going in, or her specifically, but I was just not anticipating liking it as much as I did and liking her as much as I did.
Same.
At first I was worried, like, oh, they're going to shove a bunch of jokes in her mouth, basically, and that wouldn't feel right.
Yeah.
But it's different from some of the other jokesters that we've met in Marvel. She's very playful and impish. Like, she's saying stuff to fuck with you.
Yeah.
And it's not even mean spirit. Sometimes it is if she doesn't like you, but it's usually just to be like, hey, are you paying attention?
Hey, you doing?
And that's my favorite way. It's facetiousness. Sometimes there's facetiousness, and sometimes she's kind of, getting your goat a little bit, but it's very endearing. It's very, very endearing. And so it's a different way than like if she's up against Iron Man, like he's just going like a mile a minute, just reference. So it's like a Dennis Miller of superheroes. But yeah, I mean, not that that's her defining trait. It's her being funny is just part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, her charm really sold me as like, I will keep watching what's going on here.
You know what she makes me think of? If I had to describe Captain Marvel.
What's that?
In a very generic way that the mass could understand, it would be the smirk emoji.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
You know what I mean? It's like she's just kind of like, she's always got the little,
I said that. It's like, and she's fucking with you, and then you look over it, and she's like, gotcha. Gotcha, kid. Yeah, well, she even, like, there's a few moments where she even kind of reminds me, when she's running around on the Skrull ship early on in the movie, and even though she is at a disadvantage, because they've got her hands covered up, and she hasn't been fully powered. That whole scene, it's funny because she feels a little Indiana Jones or Han Solo-ish because she is
totally
trying her hardest, and it's not always succeed, although she is kicking their asses at the end of the day, but she's making these jokes as if to just be like, well, let's see what happens, because I might lose, but it's kind of fun, and I like it. Like,
she's like, I'm here. And
it's like the humanity of what she's doing. It's kind of funny that she's like that charming even when she doesn't really know who she is at the beginning of the movie. And it doesn't really bother me, even though it doesn't really, I guess it's just like her personality doesn't go away just because of all the things that these aliens have done to her to change her memories. It's all that part's
very weird,
very complicated. And it seems
complicated.
Well, just so that they can have this payoff at the end of the movie that she has been lied to and that she has been betrayed. By the way,
the bait and switch.
Guess what? It's a spoilers because we're talking about something.
Oh, yeah. Spoilers for everything.
The second I opened my mouth, I started spoiling.
You did. It's just spewing it. God,
that's just life.
You got spoiled all over the floor.
Life is just a bunch of spoiling. You start spoiling the day you were born and you spoil
and
at the end of your last day.
Spoil the shit out of
it. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed the film, but it felt like when we were talking about the X-Men movies, there was a lot of bending over backwards to make certain things happen.
Oh, yes.
And that... It was more acceptable to me here. It's not that characters were acting out of character. It's just that the whole thing with her being abducted, they change her, memories so that she'll act a certain way so that they can keep an eye on her. All the motivations make sense, but the way that it's done is so complicated. And at the end, it's revealed that she's been lied to. And of course she was lied to because Jude Law, if he's playing your character, there's a 75% chance he's going to fuck you over. Just look at the man. You can't trust him.
Yeah.
He just looks like...
He did just play Dumbledore, though, in the Fantastic Beasts.
Can't trust him either.
I don't know.
He's a magician.
Man, you got to trust
They're
Dumbledore.
natural liars.
Not Dumbledore.
They lie about reality. It's just his face. Like, by the way, I liked him in this movie. It's just that to look at his face, he has that look of like, I might stab you, I might cheat on you, I might do any number of things.
But
I'm not the hero.
Yeah,
no matter
definitely
what,
not.
I don't think of him as the hero. But that she was lied to and all these things, it seemed like that was there so that she would have this vendetta against the people who made her, and it feels a little reverse engineered. But it is satisfying when she turns, finally gets to
when she's like, oh,
take it out on them.
This is what's happening.
Yeah. So I at the end of the day, despite that stuff really didn't bother me as much as, and that's kind of proof that, I'm a fucking nitpick, but if you entertain me and charm me, I'm gonna swallow it.
Well, and they did the thing that we were talking about that we both really didn't love about in Endgame when they tried to over-explain when you could have just gone with the nice blanket thing.
Yeah.
Even though I did exactly what you said, I agree that it was like more of a reverse engineering, but they didn't try to get into it so much where I felt like I need to ask more questions because you just explained a lot to me, but you didn't actually explain anything.
Yeah.
So I think they did a good job of keeping it vague enough.
It was,
And then they leaned in a little too much. Like I remember, I believe after I watched it, I told you, I was like, I felt like the opening was a little too much. Like, holy shit, there's a lot going on. And it's not that bothers me. It was just like a lot to take in, I guess, at first. But then the rest of the film, I was like, totally good. I was on board.
It was, and it's the intention. I mean,
well, they're trying to set me up. They're like, the Skrulls are bad. Look at this terrible stuff. And then, just kidding.
Guess what?
Which I actually did like that. I was kind of surprised that I didn't find that more cheesy.
Well, in the comics, it's like, I mean, not that the Kree have never, I mean, these are the Kree and the Skrulls are straight out of the comics. I mean, they're small. There are changes to them, but especially the Skrulls are very close to how they look, what their powers are, basically. And that there is this war between them is a long. We talked about it a little bit in our Avengers history episode. And if you, just to cross-promote on our own show here, we've also talked about the history of this Captain Marvel.
We have.
On a prior episode, too, so check those out. But those races of aliens are taken from the comics. They got me with the plot twist. Yeah. Actually, I mean, it wasn't mind-blowing, but it was like, oh, I did expect the Skrulls to be bad because, one, they look like lizards a little bit, and that's just what we're taught as humans. That's our natural reaction.
Ben Mendelsohn is here,
Yeah, but they're in the comics, they tend to be more villainous, more consistently than the Kree. They're treated more like that. Like there was a whole storyline where they invaded Earth completely covertly. We didn't know that so many of these heroes and various, authorities had been shapeshifters. So that they were revealed to be really the not the aggressors. They were the victims at the end of the day, if that's how you want to divide up a war, that they were on the receiving end. And that I kept thinking they were going to change it. I thought they were going to show how, no, they are screwing us over. It's just that the Kree are also not great. Yeah. They made the Skrulls, and specifically Talos, the main Skrull, very likable.
Now, what's his name? Commander Krennic from Rogue One.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, so it is funny to me. Okay, this is what's happened to the Marvel Universe, the cinematic universe, and it is what it is. It's there's a lot of great stuff that comes from it. But ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, the universe is just a silly place.
Yes.
It's hard to take serious space things, which I know maybe on paper it would be hard for anybody, but as somebody who's read some really good cosmic comics, the defining characters of the cosmic side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are a bunch of jokesters in their comedy films. And so most of what's been defined in space
is silly.
And so that the Skrulls like that, Talos, I love his voice. I love his delivery. I love his character. But why is he Cockney?
That's that guy's voice. He's doing the same voice he did in Rogue One.
And it's lovely. I love it. But
I just thought that was a little weird.
But it's weird. And it's like, okay, well, has he been to Earth before? No, they say specifically he hasn't. Okay, so now, and look, I'm not saying they need to invent alien, but his wife has like a Romanian accent. And it just seems like they're just kind of, but we've been taught in this world of the Marvel Universe to accept that raccoons will sound kind of like they're from the Bronx or whatever, or Jersey or wherever. And that there's a level of that's great for like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But when it crosses over into these other films this is not a super serious film, but it's not a farce. It's not a joke a minute. And it's trying to introduce us to a new superhero who can play a big part in big serious things. It's almost like they've spoiled the idea a little bit of the cosmic unit or side of it as being anything more than just hey, it's just basically a big fucking cartoon.
Hey, we're in space.
Anything can happen. Everybody's funny and everybody's got a joke and everybody gets Earth culture. Because even though most of them haven't been here, it's just...
What's the planet number? She calls that out.
I don't know, C-15, C-23. But all that said, I really enjoyed his performance. He was very charming. And the Skrulls, ultimately, I did feel bad for them. That they were being...
I totally did.
That they were,
genocide.
Genocide. Now, it was super heavy-handed sometimes.
Agreed.
Like, there's a speech that Carol gives at the end of it to the Supreme Intelligence, to Annette Bening.
Yeah.
And where, like, she's fighting her essentially it's kind of like a psychic battle, but it's really like a digital, virtual reality, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact words, but the language she's using it might as well just be her saying, immigrants are people too, and we shouldn't be putting them in cages, which I 100% agree with.
Yes, we are in full agreement here.
So on the nose that they had already essentially established this. They did not need to be so specifically referencing that, even though she doesn't make the reference. It felt
I was there with you.
Just one step too far of like, you're no longer in the world of parable. You're now in the world of you're just telling me what your intent is.
Yeah.
And I felt it was more powerful to just let me feel bad for these characters and draw the...
Yeah, because it was working. I did feel bad for him. I thought it was terrible.
Totally.
I love the scene, when she goes to her friend's house and her friend is like, oh my God, I thought you've been dead this whole time.
Yes.
And then when you see them show up, the Skrulls, excuse me, let me specify, you still have that element of you're threatened.
For
you're
sure.
like, uh-oh, okay, she's near her daughter. We gotta act. And then when they finally like get to the point and he's like, this is why I've been trying to get in touch with you. I've been trying to just get you to see this.
Yes.
I'm not trying to unlock this memory to use something against you. I'm trying to unlock it so you can see what's really going on. And then when you see, everything about...
And so I can find my family.
Yeah, I want to find my family, to let you know what Annette Bening was actually up to. I love that we're just going to call them by their...
Well, yeah, with Annette, because Annette Bening is... It's not one, she's fine and the roles, because she's basically playing two roles in this, I guess. In the comics, and it certainly shouldn't be like, well, I don't know, it'd be fun if it was like the comics, but in the comics, just to give you an idea of what Annette Bening's other character is, the villainous one, the Supreme Intelligence is like, the gathered intelligence. It is a artificial intelligence, but it's also organic.
Yeah.
And it's like the gathered intelligence of all the elders, I believe, someone correct me please and give us specifics, of past Kree, like all of their best minds put into one place.
Yeah, and then it just takes the form of whatever.
Well, in the comics, it takes the form of a gigantic green head with like tentacles coming off of the top of it.
Cool. So
in a
very
giant tank.
Wizard of Oz.
Well, yeah, and it looks
in a giant
tank, and it looks like it's always like grossed out or uncomfortable. Just the look on its face, just looks like, you just imagine it talks like this, kind of. Hey, but. And that's, honestly, I would have loved to have seen it, but I wasn't expecting to. The whole thing of it taking the form of who you most respect, that's fine. It seemed like they just wanted to shoehorn. This may not be true at all. This may be way off base. Annette Bening being in the film was fine. She was fine in these roles. it felt like it was just an opportunity to put a human in front of our faces instead of something fantastical, which would have been cooler for me.
Get an actor or actress in here. Yeah.
Yeah. And get someone.
I see the tentacle head now.
They're cool.
I've looked it up. Very interesting.
They're neat. I mean, it's a classic weird Jack Kirby design.
I wonder if they didn't do it, though, to your point earlier about everything already looking so silly. Like maybe that is almost too fantastical where it would just add to honestly the silliness that was there.
It could very well have been that. And it also like led to like, well, why is she imagining, when we first meet Carol and she doesn't know who she is, and so she doesn't know why she's seeing she doesn't know who she respects the most, or why she's seeing this particular person. I don't know if that's really is that the person she would respect most in her life, because she has like a best friend that she respects a hell of a lot. I don't know if she would respect this person who she's known for a year or whatever the most, but that's what they did. No, I agree that could very well be it. For me, what the issue was that it was uninteresting visually.
Yeah.
And that it just
You're
seemed
just
like
on this constant plane where it just goes into infinity and you're just walking around a space.
And we just have like an Academy. Well, I assume she's an Academy Award winner. I don't know if that's true. She's a well-known actor.
Yeah.
Who's very respected. So we've got her. Let's just put her on screen.
Yeah.
Understandable. It doesn't have to be certainly a big head. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it's really just like scenes where you just talk to her.
Yeah.
They don't even have her changing into this other thing or coming out of the wall or anything like that makes it feel fantastical.
Yeah.
So it feels kind of tame compared to some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Since we only get to see one person's version of it, it doesn't feel like that's what I think my issue is. They say that, but I only ever get to see one person's person that they respect. So it's just, it could be anybody.
Yeah. That's a good point. Okay. Yeah.
Look, it's fine. It's just, it's not the main thrust of the movie. So it's not a ruin. It's just like, whatever,
well,
you guys.
It's like they establish it. It is what this is. And then it's something that it's being established clearly because she's got to overcome it once she gets powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So mark that, check off the list.
For sure.
Getting into the movie. So I love when she gets to Earth. Obviously, we've talked about before when we talked about the origin in the comics. We made the crack about, she's going to fall into a blockbuster because at that point we had just seen the trailer of the film.
Yeah.
But once she gets there, it's like hilarious. When she's talking to, I really wish I could remember a little bit more of the dialogue, but when she's talking to essentially the security guard that's just running around and she's just talking very matter-of-factly and making jokes and he's just like, I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't know how to take this. I don't know how to. And when she's like, where do I get, some kind of communication equipment? He points to the Radio Shack.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just like fun.
Oh, no, her delivery in that, like, I want to see her play a really confident cop. Because that's essentially what she's doing in that moment. She walks up to another, what she assumes. Just taps on his thing. And then when the way that she addresses him, she's smirking, makes a few little jokes. And it's like she's talking to another peace officer. I respect you. And look, I'm in charge of things. No problem. Where can I take care of this?
Yeah. She's like, are you in charge of this whatever?
The security. All that. It was. And so it's just more, it's funny. And it's also like her still managing to turn what could just be, information passing between people into character work a bit, because you get to see that like she enjoys life.
Yeah,
she has her own issues, but she enjoys life.
She's fun.
Yeah, she is. The Earth stuff is a lot of fun. It's like, and the 90s, the fact that it's set during the 90s, that is played up some, but they did not rely on it nearly as much as they could have, which would have been a crutch. I actually thought they did it relatively to a reasonable amount.
I thought it was much more reasonable. And after, we talked about the whole with the no doubt during that, like, that's the time that I think it's the most heavy-handed. So I was appreciative when they did it in the lighter moments, like when she steals the outfit and takes the guy's motorcycle.
They're playing Elastic, all those things, like the way what you're referring
garbage.
to. They played Garbage. They played Elastica. It's all great stuff. And it's like, those are moments for it. She's wearing the
Nine Inch Nails t-shirt.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The place where I had the issue with it was where at the end, almost the end, she's realized that she's been on a leash this whole time.
Yep. She's super powerful.
She's insanely powerful, more so than she could ever dream. And that she was lied to by the people that she thought were helping her. All these things, the Kree. And so she's going to throw down. And the scene itself is not especially serious. She's making jokes.
No, for sure.
But the emotional content behind it, even if it's below levels of humor, is you have restrained me, and now I get this righteous revenge of kicking your asses and making it look easy.
Yeah.
And then they choose to play No Doubt's I'm Just a Girl.
Which love the song.
Great song, great band. Most of the film has not been about her being a woman and how that creates problems. Because even though Jude Law talks down to her, and maybe that's based off in their culture of her being a female, who knows? Most of what's happening in the film, she's been mistreated, but a lot, aside from her stuff with her dad that they cover, even then, he doesn't specifically say, although it's easy to assume that it's like her dad was like, don't do the stuff your brothers do or whatever, because you're a girl. But most of the film manages to be just about, I am a character struggling, and I'm also a woman, but it's like rarely has it been.
It's a human trying to figure out their past.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, this woman is trying to figure out
They do.
past.
I think the one place that it seems like, and it fit very well, was that like, oh, women pilots were specifically going to be doing these things, these kinds of missions, and not these. And that's just a truth, I guess. So that's cool. You know, that figured into something, but that could be part of it, but her character, her defining traits did not seem to be, I have been restrained because of my womanness all my life. And so for her to be striking back at people who didn't restrain her or hold her back because she was a woman, they did it because she had the power of a god inside of her. And she just happened to be a human and that had that stuff. For them to play that music then felt like a cash grab. It felt like, and I know you were a fan of the moment where all the ladies lined up in Avengers Endgame. And I'm sure, look, I'm not going to sit there and tell a little girl who sees that and wants to go fucking kick an ass. I'm not going to tell them that's not great filmmaking. I'm going to say good for you. But as filmmaking goes, it's like that was a poor choice. And it's, in my opinion, it seems cheap.
And you know, after we talked, we kind of unpacked that specifically a little bit. It did feel more like, let's do the check mark with all the women that do the thing, you know, that sort of thing. And that movie very much didn't do that. And what's funny is whenever you kind of gave me a warning about it before I'd even watched it, I was like, I don't know, maybe it won't be that bad. But then I thought the rest of the music was used so well. When that happened, I was like, yeah, this is kind of a turnoff. I'm not going to lie. Thankfully, that was just a moment.
It is, and it's so much not a huge thing, but it is something that I think
it's worth noting.
It is because I think it's just, I mean, luckily we are, I assume, I mean, one, we're going to get more of this character and more, I mean, we've had Wonder Woman movie, we've had, you know, we're going to continue to get these films, and I would love to see the filmmakers or the studios, whoever really is ultimately responsible for that type of moment, or the moment that was an Endgame that I'm personally not a fan of, just purely from a why did this happen standpoint.
It felt tacked on.
Where we can feel like we are supporting and empowering women characters without having to resort to, you know, like a I love black people kind of moment where it's basically here's my black friend, here's my woman friend,
here's my woman friend.
Like my mom's a woman, you know. It just feels like a in case you, I mean, and you know, there's the argument with Endgame specifically where it's like you barely featured female characters in this film, and now all of a sudden you feel like you want to wear the pen, you know, at the end of the day. And
women's rights.
And I'm really not trying to call anyone out because I also don't take these films too seriously, but it's cool. I mean, I love that this film is both, it seemed, as not a woman, it seems like it would be so cool as any gender, as a kid, especially to just go see the movie and see this movie, but especially for a little girl to be able to say like, I can put my face on that person and be that person. There's not even a love interest in the film. Isn't that amazing?
Was really wonderful. Which was really wonderful. Women don't always have to chase someone.
No.
Thank you.
No, I don't.
In fact, I preferred that it was about a meaningful friendship and even like the sort of like mentor-esque vibe that she had with her daughter. Like that was so much more fulfilling.
Absolutely.
Like so much more fulfilling. And I think the last thing I'll say about the no doubt scene is kind of what we were kind of already talking about, but the only reason it stood out is because I felt they balanced the rest of it so well.
I know.
Meaning like it wasn't like you said, hi, this is a girl who has all these powers. Like we never got that. It was just in that little moment. And like we said, thankfully it was a moment, not a big deal.
They did so much good stuff that that's why it stands out. The other, aside from Brie Larson doing such a great job and just being so buoyant in this even, and literally radiant because she is
very much.
She is glowing. Samuel L. Jackson is an actor that I have in the past 10 years gotten so tired of. Because
Nick Fury's everywhere.
And this is going in a good place, so don't worry. This isn't just about to be a tirade. But
don't worry about
I have been so tired. As Nick Fury, I wouldn't have cast him in that role unless, I mean, not because he never had the capability. And they only cast him in that role because in a version of the Avengers in the comics, they had a version of Nick Fury that was specifically based on the appearance of Samuel L. Jackson. And now they're referring to that by casting him, which is fine. I don't care what he looks like. It's that this man has been playing, I'm going to tell you something now. Forever. And
I want these motherfucking things.
Exactly.
This
everything is yelled. Everything is, I've been there, done that. It's always jaded. It's like there's no soul left. I have not seen everything he's done, so spare me. Yeah. I'm just saying that his roles that he has been known for a while, including Nick Fury, have been, for me, increasingly like, I can't handle this anymore.
I don't want it anymore.
So, for one, to see him fresh-faced, and it's like the CG is amazing, or whatever else they did, too, because he never looked fake to me. He just looked like Samuel L. Jackson from Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's like him again, but he was so fun in this movie.
I liked him a lot.
I
liked him a lot.
He's not an idiot. He's not like he's
just young. He's just green.
He's young and he's enjoying his life and he's serious about what he does. And it's not even a complaint. Like, what happened to this man between 1992 or 90 or whenever this is set and the first Avengers movie that he turns into such a dour piece of shit? I hate him in those movies. But in this, like, I was like, please just make a movie about young...
Oh, the cracks where they were making about him always hurting his eye. Oh my God, it's so good. It made me laugh.
If he had been Nick Fury as we had been seeing him in the Avengers movies up to this point, this movie would have been like 2/3 of what it should have been. He helped this movie so much. And I mean, it's not just his choices as an actor, but he did so great playing not this thing that I'm so used to him doing. So, like, kudos to him and thank you for doing that because it made it so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so fun. He loves cats. Of course, I'm going to,
oh my God,
I'm going to go for that. But like all of his reactions to the cat were so natural sounding.
What was it called?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a real thing in the comics, apparently.
Dang it. That's a bummer.
It's an F word. I know that because they say mother, that thing, flunger. Yeah. He was so great. Now, I will say that the things with his eye, like, I'm okay with like flirting a little around with that.
I thought it was ridiculous and funny. I couldn't help it.
The origin of this badass's thing. He
got scratched by a cat.
He got scratched by a space cat. That's fine. But that's, to me, like, is that what you want your iconic characters?
I do.
I don't. I
want to now watch Avengers and be like, I know your eye got scratched because of a space cat.
It just doesn't jibe with the character that I met in the Avengers movies, who I don't like.
Hey, you don't like him, so
I don't.
Get him out
but
of
it's like, what? But that's the thing, is that's who he is now. So unless he's going to suddenly get positive in the new Spider-Man movie, which it doesn't seem like it is, he called Spider-Man bitch in the commercial. So
good.
Yeah, but
listen, bitch.
But all that to say, like, that's fine, that's cute, but like, that's not. I would rather. It's kind of like with Thor and Endgame, where it's like we've saddled him with this funny thing, but now you got to live with it. You know,
yeah,
like
he's fat now.
Yeah, I don't, and that's just not my thing. But man, was he great in this movie? He was really, really great, and
really fun.
What they did with him was such a marvel. And I didn't even mean it, but I did it.
What? So one thing that I apologize for forgetting, if we did fully cover it in our comic exploration of Captain Marvel, what's her actual origin?
It was that she was put through something called a machine called the psychomagnetron.
Okay.
And the basic version that's been given over the years and probably like changed is that she was given Kree DNA or Kree physiology was intermingled with her human physiology, and therefore gave her these powers.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was like, I know this spaceship blowy uppy thing did not happen. Well, however, I will tell you from just a pure visual standpoint, I really enjoyed that.
That was really cool.
It was really badass looking.
Yes, it was. Yeah, well, and essentially this, the way that she gets her powers in this is that she is, and other people have put it this way online, she is a living, almost a living infinity gem. I mean, she has the power of the Tesseract, which is one of the Infinity Gems within her. Not to its full extent, it seems like, because otherwise she would just be omnipotent. But, you know, she has quite a bit of power in there. And it is really cool. You know, it's something that in comics you just like accept that people just shoot beams. Like Iron Man shoots beams, but they come from his hand,
from his suit.
Which is a suit.
Yeah.
We have yet to see, as far as I remember, in the Marvel movies, a character that just points their hand at you and a beam comes out of there, a laser comes out of their hand.
Yeah.
And it's that's happening from the start. And that's something that is so comic-y that I love it. It's just like, this is a super, super powerful character that is like a Superman, truly.
Yeah.
And so to see that being carried out on screen is really cool. To just see like, this is what an all-American superhero is like.
Yeah.
We shoot beams out of our hands.
Take my beam shooting. Yeah. Look at my energy letting me fly through space.
It's great. Yeah. And it's like, that is, it may introduce challenges in the future writing wise, or at least for this viewer, where it's like, you got to convince me that they're in peril. And this, it was good because she was until she wasn't anymore.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know why there was any struggle with her and the Kree soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it seemed like maybe she was just getting her, look, I can always come up with a reason. And ultimately I enjoyed the fight. Yeah. But it just seemed like, lady, you're flying through spaceships. Like, you can decimate these guys in a second. And then, but they kind of paid me off with where at the end she's facing down with Jude Law's character, Jan Drog or whatever.
And he's like...
And he's trying... It's so great because it's exactly what a Jude Law character would do. Where it's like, come on, you got to prove to me without your powers,
and
please.
She's like, fuck you.
Yeah, she just says, I'm not dumb. Like, come on, man.
No, what do I have to prove to you, asshole?
Yeah, well,
Nothing.
I just got hand beams, okay? I'm not going to stop shooting hand beams at you just to prove something to you.
I'd be like, no, you're getting hand beams. Yeah. And I'm done.
So that was, I like that it was like, and they set it up to be this showdown, and then it's kind of Indiana Jonesy again, where it's like where he shoots the guy with the sword. It's like no, why would I do that?
No, we're not doing that.
I'm reasonable.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. So that getting to see her, take on this, an ascension, essentially is really cool because we just haven't, mostly we deal with characters that are like Captain America level. The Hulk is its own thing, but either that or they have technology or something. To see just like a beam of light come to life is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I like the other thing that I'm interested in with Captain Marvel, and we did see this in Avengers a little bit, but I like that because she can literally travel on her own. Mm-hmm. So she really can show up anywhere in the Marvel universe, like if they really wanted it to, or if they really wanted her to. But kind of to something you mentioned earlier, once you've seen this, you're sort of wondering, like, were we in that big of trouble when it came to Thanos and all this stuff? And maybe her not being there at the right time could be a totally reasonable gripe. But when they're essentially like in the movie, when they do the chick huddle, essentially what we're doing is get the ball to her because she's going to get it in the end zone, and then it gets fucked up. And I was like, yeah, she would have done.
And this is one of the problems that gets introduced when you end up, when you get a character this powerful and you start raising the stakes this much, is that one, it becomes hard sometimes to believe that a character is true. Like you don't feel that they're in danger. Mm-hmm. And so the fights don't have any weight. And so you either have to change tactics and come at, like, Lex Luthor versus Superman, he doesn't punch him. He tortures someone he loves or puts him in a quandary of some kind.
Good point.
Morally. But we haven't reached that point because this is her ascension. But Marvel at large, they've now raised the stakes quite a bit. They can bring him back down because that's gone. But yeah, it becomes this thing where it's like, well, why couldn't you just, because what they set up with this film is that she goes away at the end to help the Skrulls settle, basically. And she's trying to, and even though it's annoying to me that it's like, we had to come up with the reason why this character went away, and that no one remembers apparently or references, like when Iron Man becomes a superhero and kind of seems to invent the damn thing, that it's like, hey, remember when those weird things happened with that flying woman on Earth a few times years ago?
Yeah, remember
this is like that, kind of. That doesn't, that's okay. But that she leaves Earth, it's for a very good character reason. But when Avengers happened, when Avengers 1 happened, and like all of New York is under siege and it's an alien invasion of our planet, did Nick Fury even consider beeping her then? Or was it, no, I don't want to bother her.
This isn't a big enough emergency yet.
No, and Nick Fury is like, his concern is Earth, especially asshole Nick Fury by that movie.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to beep her every fucking time some shit happens. And then she'll stop coming. But like that, it's a thing that happens in the comics where you start having to explain, and this has been going on for a long time. You've brought Thor into the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Now you have to explain why either Thor isn't at full power this time, or why the character is more powerful than usual, the one you're fighting, or why Thor can't be there that day, or whatever, so that
he's on PTO.
Exactly.
Sorry.
He's on Asgard having a soak, taking a schwitz. But it's so that you can tell the story that you want to tell and have stakes. And that is one reason why like we took 23 movies or whatever to get to this gigantic thing, and now they're going to. I trust that they'll find other ways to explore and lower the stakes again and then raise them again. But it's a risky thing because you end up in one video game land. Everything seems to just be computer graphics.
Yeah,
and in this, I didn't feel too taken out of it by her flying. The only time that I was just like, I don't really care is when they were on the Kree world. It just didn't feel lived in to me or real enough. Yeah. It just seemed like another random like piece of art that somebody made for their portfolio of I do sci-fi art or something.
I do sci-fi art.
I do SFA. But it's I like the raised stakes stuff. And here's the thing. They managed to keep it emotionally based where it's like the scrolls are being put upon. They are mistrusted for all these reasons. It's essentially like, xenophobia. Yeah. And she has now helped unintentionally or, from a misinformed place to further their suffering. So now she's trying to undo that. So that's a great way to do it. But yeah, when it's like, what's going to happen next time?
Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting with this movie that I did not expect is once the movie was over, I was like, I would like to see a Captain Marvel sequel. And that I did not expect. Yeah. I was like, I could see more of this.
I'd love to see more of her. We've talked about it a little bit off mic, but it's interesting, and I know this is the kind of challenge you run into shooting these kinds of movies, but, she shot Brie Larson played Captain Marvel before she shot this movie. She played it for Endgame, even though that came out afterwards. Yep. She didn't seem out of character in that film to me, but it's a weird setup to introduce us to a character in the 90s, in the past. Like, here's where she was, and then she disappears for 10 or 20 years, I guess. I don't know how long it's supposed to be. Let's say it's 97. It's been 15 years that she's been gone or whatever. Then we meet her again briefly at the beginning of the new Avengers movie, Endgame. Then time moves forward 5 years and she's in a completely different place. All of that's happened off screen. Now, I mean, the new movie could be any number of things. It could be her adventures in the meantime. I'm sure they'll find a way around, but that once, like I said in that episode, Endgame, that 5-year thing, I know they're going to turn it into some cool things too, but it really fucks with the characters that need to have more movies. Yeah. Like Black Panther, you can't have just like what feels like a nice, pure Black Panther sequel.
Yeah, because
it has to address all this other shit that happened. And that is how comics work to an extent. That's some of the fun and some of the price of a shared universe. But this character is so good and I enjoyed her so much that I don't really want her to have to deal with the complications of what life has been like for her in the 5 years since she went away and cut her hair. Like that's its own thing. But it's just to me, it's an unnecessary complication. But that's the problem with a different movie. That's not the problem of this film in my eyes.
One fun little piece of goofery. I did love that she could just pull up a console and she's like, I'm going to make my suit a different color.
It's funny because watching again today, I was like, does this bother me? Because I don't think it bothered me when I watched it, but it is such a cheap, like, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. It's fine. Because I like the way the green costume looks. It's certainly, but it's not, it's not American. It's un-American, in fact, to wear so much green.
My biggest question for you,
it better be long. Boyd. How many words?
Medium.
How many words? Medium?
Medium words. At the end, when Maria's daughter gives her jacket back.
Yes.
She's like, hey, I'm returning this thing to you, which was this thing that you wore, which I loved. I love that she put the jacket on.
And it looks good over that costume.
I'm super into it. Yeah. I have zero qualms with that. Would the power not affect the jacket in some way? Just a question.
Well, it seemed to make it light up in
It's very glowy.
Yes, it's very glowy.
Glowy.
So, I mean, one could question why such power wouldn't burn off the costume that she's wearing, because it's not like it was made specifically for that level of power.
Question.
Let me push my glasses back up. Hold on. Yeah. Excuse me. So,
the power.
I'm just going to do a real bullshit one. The cold of space counteracts for the leather, the heat or whatever is coming off of her energy, and so or just temperatures. Okay, so that's bullshit too, because I'm sure it's not just heat.
You know what? I'm not upset about it because she looks great in the fucking leather jacket with the suit.
It looks
into
good.
it.
I'm digging it too.
Hey, babe, you like my jacket, babe?
I'm digging it.
Yeah, I was super into it. I was into it.
Now, I'm gonna keep my nerd glasses on.
Okay, keep them on.
I don't know. Maybe it's not completely nerd glasses because it's not me saying, "Oh, it's not like it shouldn't be," or it doesn't make sense.
Nerd contacts.
It's more that one nerd monocle. I'm gonna put on one nerd monocle and push it back up into my eye.
Quite.
So at the end of this film, when we have the little scene with Nick Fury, and he is typing up his idea for what becomes the Avenger Initiative.
Yes.
As we know it from the other movies. It started, what did you call it before that?
It was a P word?
Yeah. Poo-poo. No.
No.
Preemptive.
Pumpernickel.
Pumpkin spice. I don't know, but it's some
PSL
some other P. Some other P. Patreon. The Patreon initiative.
The Patreon initiative.
He's trying to get people to pay him. He's cooking up this idea of superheroes or whatever, basically. And he looks at a picture of her, Carol Danvers, she's a fighter pilot, or at least it would be fighter pilot. She's a test pilot. And on the side of her plane, it says, Carol, quote unquote, Avenger Danvers.
Yes.
That's her name. That's her nickname. Hey, Avenger, how's it going? We know what to avenge means. She is a test pilot.
The Protector Initiative.
Okay.
That's where he started.
Well, he was right to rename it, for sure. How and why she got the name Avenger.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
Seems unlikely. And only there to make this... It's kind of like the whole thing with Mystique. Like, I'm not even going to get into the specifics, but the issue that we had at the end of Days of Future Past, where it's like, you didn't have to make that connection. You could have just let it be there.
Yeah.
They had to make this connection that I didn't need. They already explained in the movie, The Avengers, why they were going to call them the Avengers, because they had to avenge the death of this person. So now it's just putting a hat on a hat, and I don't like the hat. It just seems dumb.
You're not really a hat guy? Not a double hat guy.
I'm not a two-hat guy.
You're not a two-hat guy.
I'll do one, I'll do three. I won't do two. I don't like evens. No, it's just, here's the thing. It was unnecessary, and then to make this unnecessary thing happen, they gave her a nickname that doesn't even fit her as a person.
Yep.
She would be like, someone calls her Ace at one point. It's like, any of those make more sense. But the other thing is that her friend, Monica Rambeau, in this, who is, I forget who plays her, but I like her in this because she's
her.
I want to go live at that house that she's at in Louisiana. That looks great.
Beautiful property.
And I love her relationship with her daughter. Like, it's not
I love the neighbor that shows up.
Oh, yeah. But I like her a lot. And in the comics, you've seen her when we did our Avengers rundown. You remember a woman in like a silver costume. And I said, that's Captain Marvel.
What?
Okay. So in the comics, Monica Rambeau has nothing to do with Carol Danvers.
Okay.
She is I believe she is from Louisiana, and she is a Harbor Patrol police officer, I think, something to this. She's a law officer.
Okay.
And I forget how, but she gets powers. She gets powers that allow her to, super powerful. She can become basically any kind of light or energy, and then also fire it and stuff like that. And at the time, there was no Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers was still called Miss Marvel, and the original Captain Marvel was dead. So she took on the name Captain Marvel and eventually gave it up and ended up with a list of names that all are just like science experiment bullshit, including Photon, which is not my favorite name. I love that character. She's great. And I would love if they took her down that path. But Photon not being a great name, that is Monica Rambeau's nickname in this movie. On the side of her plane, they're next to each other. It's Avenger and Photon. You know, you're just so fast. It's like you're what are those common things that are fast?
What are those things that...
A photon.
Oh, yeah, that's what everybody knows those words.
I'm a theoretical physicist. Stupid. It breaks the reality of the movie in a way.
And the thing, I'm like, I get it. You're trying to do some fan service and do some Easter eggs, but the problem is it's too heavy-handed.
It is, because when she gets powers later as a light-based character, which is great if it does happen, it's that thing where it's like if I get slug powers, but I was actually named before I ever got them, Sluggerson is my actual God-given name. How did I ever end up with slug powers? It's stupid. It's so dumb.
The universe just wanted you to have them, Sluggy.
I guess so. Yeah, Sluggy, that's just your luck, pal.
It's just your luck.
I get that 0% of anyone else was bothered by this. But the thing is, I'm enjoying this film so much, and you're giving us things that I think in the long... I mean, look, if they never revisit that, great, because they don't need to. But it's just like a thing that were a lot of people who loved that? Was that necessary? Because to me, I'm more interested in keeping the reality of the film, which was largely uninterrupted for me. And with all the crazy shit that's happening, it felt like a lot of this was real to me. There was a truth to the fiction.
Totally.
But it's that kind of thing. It's like you're only doing that for a reason that would exist outside the film. There is no in-house reason for that to happen, and therefore it feels flown in, and I see the seams on your product.
Yeah, exactly. It's seamy fan service for sure. They were like, somebody is either going to see this and be like, "Oh, did you see what they did?" Or they're going to be like,
"Oh, me." My friends call me Photon.
That's you.
Pulsar.
Oh, me.
I forget some of the ones. Spectrum maybe was one of them. Anyway,
no, that's what I saw.
She's great. I love
Photon,
Monica.
Pulsar,
she's cool,
and
she actually led the Avengers for a brief time. So good for her.
I think overall, the bit with Cat, the Goose.
Goose,
yeah.
Such a cute cat.
I
know there were
funny.
a few cats that played him, but
like the whole, it was fun and silly.
It was fun. Yeah.
I was pretty into it, but overall, I just really. I had a fun time with this movie.
It was so fun.
It was super fun.
There was and they could have made it more serious, and I bet it still would have been enjoyable. They didn't have to. It didn't feel. There's plenty of times in the Marvel movies where, even in the ones that I love the most, where sometimes it's and maybe Joss Whedon did direct and write, I think.
Yeah.
Avengers 1, for instance. There are times where it gets too self-referential for me, or it's too self-aware. Yes. Where it's like, we're all funny. We're all
Look
young.
Look at us all making jokes together.
We all are writers. We all should just write shows together because we all have the same voice as a writer in his 40s that grew up reading our comics. And that'll come through sometimes. In this film, that was rare for me. Even though it's like, of course somebody wrote these jokes. It just felt fun and lighthearted, and then that didn't feel at odds with some of the more serious, like people are being hurt, these aliens are being, hunted down. That stuff still held sway over me. It still had weight.
Yeah.
And this other stuff could live with it at the same time. So, they really struck a good. Again, it's not that I thought I was going to hate it, but I just assumed for whatever reason, here we go.
It'll be like,
there's going to be another thing. And it's like,
a nice
it's really up there for me. I love Iron Man 1. I love the second Captain America movie out of his three the most. Yep. And he has the most consistently good movies, actually, as a list goes.
Agreed.
But this is up there for me.
Me too. I just had so much fun with it. And like we said, the gripes that we have, I really feel are minimal.
It's easy to focus on them when, or not even to focus on them, but to notice them when you're enjoying so much else. But that's the thing, is that they do not detract from the movie. If you're gonna listen to the Parables, you're gonna hear Will say some shit about how they should have done this.
He's gonna get a little mini grumpy.
But I've said a few times before, if you make me enjoy everything else,
then let's just enjoy and have fun.
I will take the spoonful of sugar. I'll take the medicine. Give me the spoonful of sugar.
Need a bit, blow.
I will take it because you have charmed me. You've wined and dined me. And
we're fine. We're staying on the date. Take me home. I'm not gonna fight it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us as we run through the cinematic version. My God, Will is so tired. We've just been running so much. Oh, he's down. Okay, well. But as we run through the cinematic version of Captain Marvel, as Will kind of mentioned, if you have not listened to episode 2, where we dove into the history of Captain Marvel in the comics, please go back and do that. Hey, you know what? While you're there, though, we'd love if you subscribe, or maybe just, hit that little thing, leave us a nice review. We're not asking you to write a novel, just some stars.
I mean, if you want to write a novel.
Well, if you want to write a novel, we want you to live your dreams and do whatever you want to do. You write whatever novel you want.
Send us the 10% you make off of it, whatever.
We're into it. You need us to read your manuscript, we'll do it. It's fine.
That's a dangerous proposition right there.
Send your manuscripts. We'll read it for filth, or we'll love it to death. You can always visit our website at theparables.com, where you can find easy, accessible links to the episodes as well as show notes that we post. You can also follow us on Instagram at theparables, P-A-I-R-A-B-L-E-S. This handsome gentleman that I sit in this studio with week after week also has another project that he works on called Days Past Tooncast, where you what, Will?
We have adult conversations about yesterday's animation. Righteous Dudicle.
Yes. Bro hands. We'll see you guys next week where we dive into, well, whatever we want, to be perfectly honest. And we hope you'll join us. Bye.
Bye.